So along the line with education, Joanna, what exactly can the mayor do for San Francisco Public School to secure in and out of school resources?
So I've said from the beginning that I believe the mayor has to be the chief education advocate for the city. And when I said that I was going to lead with public school improvement as the #1 issue on my platform, people said you can't, it's not the job of the mayor. And I couldn't disagree more. The mayor sits in a unique position to bring the critical resources to the school district. I absolutely believe in neighborhood schools. I've met too many kids from the young age of even 7 who are taking public muni buses across town to get to school. We have to create community schools so children have a safe place to go where they can get dropped off at 7:30 in the morning and stay there till 6 p.m. while their families are working and have supportive resources and direct so many of the programs that we fund, like the Boys and Girls Club, to locate those services on site at the schools. And then we're supposed to be the innovation capital of the world. We are not innovating in our public school system. We need to reach out to the philanthropic community to pilot innovation initiatives so we can prepare our children for the future.
Thank you. It's a follow-up question to Jeff. What policies and initiatives or revenue measures will you come to addressing the crisis in funding San Francisco Public School? Jeff.
Sorry. The public schools are suffering. They've been cut by the state, they've been cut by the federal government, and we've seen cuts as much as 20 to 25%. That's one of the reasons why we don't have summer school for 2 years in a row. And so unless we fix our fiscal crisis on the local level, on the state level, on the federal level, we're going to have this problem again and again and again. And that's why I'm the only candidate that has stuck my neck out for the past 2 years to try to fix one of the biggest problems we have in city government, and that is our pension system that's out of control. This is a cost that's going up between $400 to $800 million in the next 4 years. And that's why I put Proposition D on the ballot, so we could have the resources to fix our schools, to provide the additional funding that the school district needs. So vote yes on Proposition D. It'll save $1.7 billion, $400 million more than the mayor's measure.
Thank you. David, as you have mentioned, if you're the mayor, you will put more general funding into San Francisco Public School. Is there any revenue measure that you support that you'll commit to address the crisis as well?
I think there are a number of measures that we have to think about. On this November's ballot, there is a ballot proposition, which is Proposition G, which Mayor Lee and I both placed on the ballot. This is a measure that will help bring in $60 million into our system, and it only goes into effect if the state decides to cut our sales tax funding. So I think this is a very smart way of making sure that we are taking care of our young people and taking care of public safety. I also am in support, and have been for years, of reforming our city's business tax. As was reported before, only 10% of all businesses in San Francisco pays a tax that penalizes the cost of labor. And I think we have to make sure that all of our businesses are fairly paying for our city's services.
Thank you. So typically, educational planning and initiatives take place separately from land use and economic development planning. Lee, would you support an integrated approach to community development with land use, economic development, and educational planning as a comprehensive plan?
Yes, I would. And, I know the more that we can plan these things, the better. I've been, of course, the author, along with Mayor Newsom, with the 10-year capital infrastructure plan, where we have a lot of our city, in fact, all of our city assets, the major ones, under a capital planning program that allows everybody else to see what we're trying to plan for in the maintenance and the improvement of those assets. And in doing so, we've got other entities, including the Housing Authority and Community College, City College, and others, to weigh in on that capital planning. And that planning now has improved over the years to integrate the way we do capital planning in the city. So clearly, the link with our school district and how the schools we built will be matched up with land use issues, and also capital planning, where the money is from and where the money is going to go to, as we talk with our public about what to invest in and what we can make sure keeps our property taxes low.
Thank you. Amir, do you have a different approach, or do you agree with that?
I'm glad you asked. I thought I was left out of the equation here. I would say this. I'm a graduate of upper private public schools in San Francisco. I have an A from City College. I have a BA from San Francisco State. I think all the rhetoric on our public school systems in San Francisco are exactly that. The city school system is in that shambles because they have no discipline. A lot of the top students are filtering into one school, which is Lowell. The rest of them basically are fading because the city and county of San Francisco has killed the middle class in this city. They've left. And without the middle class supporting public schools in San Francisco, you don't have public schools. Even the Asian community now is moving out to Mowbray, San Mateo, where the school system's there. Because the ones here, you show up and somebody shows up with a gun in their hand. I leave you with that.
Thank you. I know Dr. Lin is here. This question is direct to you. In 2002, you proposed dividing the school district into two districts, East Side and West Side. Do you still stand by this proposal?
Well, first off, let me apologize for being late. I was at the G. Parker School. They're celebrating their 100-year anniversary, and as you can imagine, G. Parker is an important part of the history of the Chinese community, particularly on the education side. Relative, I think, to the question at hand, one of the major issues that has haunted the Chinese community has, in fact, the fact that many youngsters have to take 2 or 3 buses in order to get to their schools. You know, you just can't ask a parent to send their kids to a school halfway across town, and then on top of that, maybe having another child to basically then go to another school. And so it was really out of that frustration of many parents that said, the school district's got to do something. We cannot allow us parents to kind of go from school to school just to get our children all to school.
Thank you.
And so that is the reason why I think there was a lot of frustration. And out of that sense of frustration with parents, they said, well, if the school district's not going to do something, then maybe at least give us some control.
Thank
And
you.
it was
Thank you,
out of
Dr.
that frustration that that proposal came out. As
Thank
to
you.
whether or not that's a realistic one, that's a whole nother story.